Okay, so let's talk about being shy, being an introvert, and being sensitive. You can be maybe one of these three, maybe two of these three, or maybe all three. Can you be an extrovert and still be an introvert, or shy, or one of those three? So it's shy, introvert, and sensitive. There's nothing wrong in being an introvert and being sensitive or being shy. It's only a problem when you feel it's a problem for you, because maybe it's stopping you from pursuing your dreams or pursuing that person that you like, and because of fear of rejection, of feeling foolish, or people laughing at you, you don't pursue. How do you know if you are one of these, an introvert, or you're shy, or you're sensitive or overly sensitive? As I said, there's nothing wrong with these things, and anybody that makes you feel like there's something wrong with this do not understand. And usually it's the extroverts. How do you know if you fit into one of these? So let's explore this. Let's ask some questions. The idea of going to a party with a lot of strangers, is that something that excites you, or the idea of it is just terrifying? If you are one of these three, you already know the answer. Is the idea of going up to a total stranger and starting a conversation something that appeals to you, or is terrifying? If you're one of these three, you know the answer. Is the idea of standing in front of a classroom and giving a presentation with everybody looking at you appealing to you? You know the answer. Are you good with small talk? You know the answer. Are you more interested in having a deep conversation, which is probably the biggest nightmare for extroverts? You know the answer. And this is where I'm going with this, can this be, and this is probably why you're listening, can you overcome these things? The answer is yes. But it does require enormous effort, because it's not something that would come easily to you. Just like it wouldn't come easily for an extrovert to sit for hours alone thinking, which is very easy for someone who is either shy or an introvert or sensitive. I recently saw something about someone wondering if they should stick around and with a group of people who he clearly, or she clearly felt they didn't want him there. Which leads me to, for a moment, to think of Notes from the Underground from Dostoevsky. If you haven't read it, you should read it, because it deals with somebody who has reached the age of, I think, in his 40s. And he's talking about how he is alone and feels miserable, and he goes back in time in the story to talk about how he was not liked by his so-called schoolmates, yeah. And how he, when you look at the story, you can see that it took enormous courage and a lot of planning for him to do something in order to, I guess, feel like he wanted some respect. So you should definitely look, and if you haven't read it, you should read it. And if you have read it and it's been a while, you should reread it. It's very good. It's called Notes from the Underground. Dostoevsky. It's a short story, not too long, not a very long story. What you have to work at is knowing exactly what it is that you're good at and that makes you feel good, because that's what's going to take you out of your shell. And that's when you're going to be able to develop the ability to operate socially at some level, which will always require work. So I've been thinking about films that may clarify in your mind, if you have any questions as to the type that you are, in the 80s. So I was thinking of St. Elmo's Fire, and that's a group of friends, introverts and extroverts. And there's one character that's very quiet there, the introvert who is afraid, and nobody knows what he's thinking, and who's afraid to pursue what he wants. But then he does develop the courage, and it's interesting to see. So that's St. Elmo's Fire, and that's with Demi Moore. It's in it Rob Lowe, Andrew McCarthy. The second film from the 80s, also where you see a combination of introvert, extrovert, and maybe a little mixture of it, and extremes of introversion, is The Breakfast Club. And that's with Ali Sheedy, and she's also in St. Elmo's Fire. I think Judd Nelson is in this also, and if I got the actor's name wrong, correct me in the leave me a comment on it. And I think also Judd Nelson is also in St. Elmo's Fire. And you'll see what's interesting about these two films is that Ali Sheedy plays a character a certain way in Breakfast Club, and a character a certain way in the St. Elmo's Fire film. And I believe also Charlie Sheen's brother, Emilio Estevez, is also in both of these films. The third film, which is a little bit more serious and it gets a bit more confusing as to whatever. And here we have Andrew McCarthy again in the film. And it's slightly different than in the part that he plays in St. Elmo's Fire. It's less than zero. And I would consider him more of an introvert, but slightly different from the other role that I mentioned earlier. And the Jamie Gertz's character, she's more of an extrovert, and so is the Robert Downey Jr. character. But even though they're extrovert, and what's interesting is that you will get in this particular film in Less Than Zero, which you have to see, the Andrew McCarthy, Andrew McCarthy, yeah. Andrew McCarthy character is kind of reprimanded for always being the one that wants to talk and have serious conversations, where the other twos don't really want that. So anyway, those are my recommendations. You should look at them, analyze them, see where you fit in that. There are more films like this in the 80s. I'm sure there are other periods where but in the 80s you saw a lot more of these dynamics and how they were dealt with. And it's certainly worth checking out. But again, it is not impossible to overcome either one of the three that I've mentioned: shyness, introversion. Well, I think if you're an introvert, you're always going to be an introvert. And that's not an issue, being an introvert. It's the ability to be able to operate in a world where the extroverts seem to dominate the scene. And going back to now being overly sensitive, there's nothing wrong with being overly sensitive. Artists are the most sensitive, the great ones, the most overly sensitive humans in existence. I mean, you just have to read some of their biographies. Completely oversensitive, misunderstood by everyone around them. So the shy, being shy around people you like, uncomfortable situations, in leadership positions, and those are you can gain the skills, whether it's public speaking skills, the art of small talk, that kind of stuff. Anyway, I leave you with that. If you like what you heard, check out I normally don't talk too much about this, but I have other stuff. Check out my playlist. Maybe there's something there that might interest you. Anyway, and either subscribe or hit the like button or leave a comment, or just let somebody else that might be interested. Although I don't know if I mentioned it, but I'm sorry. The one thing that I read that bothered me a lot was somebody being around a group of people. I think I might have mentioned it, but where either he or she was mistreated, neglected, ignored, and that's where I went in with the Dostoevsky's Notes from the Underground. And should you or would you stick around people like that? If you have the option, and I'm excluding family members because that's a different situation there. That's something that you personally have to decide on. But if you're in a social circle and you have so-called friends, quote-unquote friends, who make you feel bad, there's no reason why you should stick around that. There's no reason why you should accept that. And by that, I don't mean that you confront them, but you can certainly remove them from your priority. Your priority should be finding people who appreciate what you bring to the table, who you are, your unique point of view. Because those people exist. You're not alone. So that's my advice. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.